Welcome to another show of On the Trail with Kevin and Scott. Don't know the number. I'm sure Scott will add it shortly.
Yes, I will.
Yeah, Kevin, the engineer, the guy who reads instructions, uses the right tool, and generally follows those instructions. And as I mentioned many times before, if I vary from the instructions, I know it's my responsibility and I'm accountable for the results. And my co-host is...
And I'm Scott. I'm the slapstick parts guy that remembers the show 198. And that's pretty much all I can remember. But while I will not use a torque wrench unless instructed by Kevin, it is always up to you to do what you want to your including the ability to talk. It's always up to you to what you want to do with your Jeep. So as always, please read the instructions carefully and follow them.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yes.
So everybody out there had a good, wonderful Thanksgiving. And I guess we should start off with, sorry we missed a show.
Yeah, no, it kind of happens to the best of us. We unfortunately schedules did not line up, and we are Kevin and I we're busy. We, as it says in the show notes, not only in the notes but also on our first little intro, that we balance work, life, and jeeping events and our hobbies all in one. So it just sometimes, things a little out of balance. But, again, we're still here. We're okay. And we actually had a really eventful past couple of weeks, Kevin.
That's an understatement.
Yeah.
In sides of the state, no less.
Yes.
So why don't you start with your change in life?
Yeah, well, basically, I went to Crawling for the Fallen, enjoyed that. That was a fun event. That was the beginning of November, and it's actually really kind of cool because that was the 9th annual Crawling for the Fallen, and of course the names were very well received. Because Kevin and I, as you guys know, we read the names for the night ride. And Chrissy wanted to make sure that it's because of everyone, including some of our listeners, Paul and a few other ones. They have raised over $800,000 these past 9 years for the concerns of police survivors. So a big hand to every one of the not only volunteers but Chrissy and the constant support from all of the vendors and staff to do something that's it's unfortunate we have to do it. But the fact that we raise the money together, she does, and provides assistance for those survivors. It's a testament to everyone's ability to, I guess, just do what needs to be done. Take care of those survivors. But again, the event was nice. Ed and Paul came by. And a few other people came by and said hi. And again, that was a lot of fun. The weather was nice, thankfully. But look forward to next year. Unfortunately, we had a little trailer issue. The trailer lights in the Gladiator won't work. So that was a bit of an adventure. But we're gonna figure out. I got the tester coming from the good old Amazon big box store, so I can find out what's going on there. Don't know if it's a fuse or something, but I'll figure that out. Again, I'll let the tester sit in my garage for 5 months because that seems to be my MO. But while we did want to also talk about this, we wanted to let everyone know that Bonnie is okay. Bonnie and Kenny, they had a slight mishap when it came time to, they stayed and camped in their camper with a generator. And unfortunately, they did not have a carbon monoxide detector. So as Kevin and I always preach about being safe, safety and, use the proper precautions and reading instructions. They had a little bit of a scare. Someone had a generator a little too close to them, and luckily, they just woke up with a headache and some disorientation and spent the day in the hospital. But they were home that night, back at the campground, to enjoy the night ride and a few other things. But they also preached, on their Facebook pages. Because again, on the way home from the hospital, they stopped and got a carbon monoxide detector. Those are very important, to keep that in mind when you're building your camper, because they're actually building one right now too, a crawler hauler. But even we're getting into the camping season. People use their RVs, to go on vacations. Check the batteries in those carbon monoxide detectors if they have them, or if they're hardwired. See if there's a test button. Take that little bit of extra precaution because that in the middle of a vacation and a fun event can turn into a tragedy really quickly, and something like that. So, but again, we want to. What's that?
No, sorry.
No problem. So we just want to make just a little bit of a PSA there for everybody. But other than that, the event went well.
say slightly, Scott, is that there are carbon monoxide detectors that are battery powered available. And if you're tent camping around people with generators, carbon monoxide is a heavier than air gas that will settle. And if you're settled in a tent sleeping on the ground and a generator is running nearby, there's a chance that what happened to Bonnie and Kenny could happen to you. So, if you're out in nature and nobody run a generator, you can probably do without it. But it's not a bad idea to think about getting one of those little battery powered ones and clip it on the tent, or just lay it on the floor. That's where it'll pick it up the best. And particularly if Uncle Joe's had a little too much bean burritos the night before, it might save your life.
Nice. But that was pretty much my adventure with that. But again, again, everything went well. So how about you, Kevin? How did your past couple of weeks go?
Oh, my. Well, I'll be honest, folks. I'll start off with the one Jeep item, but it's been busy, as Scott knows. So, first off, I finally found a supplier for the wiper switch assembly for a TJ. Specifically, I believe they're different, but for mine, which is the 03 through 06 varietal, and shock of shocks, while looking at all of the used ones on eBay that were coming in at $160, $180, because they are no longer available from Chrysler, and they're not even picked up and supplied by any of the normal secondary manufacturers, aftermarket manufacturers. But I found a gentleman out in California who had a stock of probably 10 or 15 of new, yes, they're reproduction units, but they were only $40.
Nice.
$39 and $2.77 delivery. I wonder if he has any left. But anyway, I went ahead and hung one out there and ordered them, and it showed up, and it arrived boxed well. Yes, it had the made in China sticker on it, but I'm not so sure that the original one wasn't, because this looked identical to the factory unit and connected. All the holes lined up, the connectors were correct, the finish was correct, the packaging was what I expect to normally get from the factory, probably a little bit better, to be honest, because it even had the mesh over the handle that slides over to protect the handle from damage at shipment, and it was cardboard boxed, in a nice package. Not that that's important, but I did take probably a 30-minute session to split the steering wheel column top and bottom. That's 2-hole screws on a TJs, for those of you who have them, coming for underneath. Pull that off, and then move the safety slides, the locks off of the the headlight switch. And there's two that lock on the headlight side, and then the one on the washer side, and then 2 screws on top, and you lift the whole assembly off. And then there's 2 screws that join the 2 together. If you look carefully, you'll see them on the back, and they slide apart kind of like a puzzle piece. Slide the new one on, put the screws back in, drop it back into the on the top of the column. 2 screws on either side. A screw on either side. Plug in the sensors and then test it, and everything worked. And it was very nice, because why I did that, folks, is I had no slow speed. Second to slow speed, all I had were the 2 upper speeds of wipers and full speed. And now I have my entire delay system functioning again, and it has not happened. It has been functioning for about the last 5 years, because I couldn't find a ripple. And on the techie side, just so you understand that what those switches, the way they work, that are the incremental position, not the smooth turn you have on some of the more modern vehicles, but this has a slow low and then you click it 1, click it 2, click it 3, click it 4, then click it the 5th time, it goes to full speed wipers. There's a little circuit board in there with a little resistor. And the service manual tells me that when the computer that controls the wiper sees only a low voltage, which is the highest resistance, it's low, and then a little less resistance, it goes up a notch, and a little less again. And finally, till it gets to straight current, it runs at full speed. So when those resistors burn out, and no, they're not the big wire wound things. They're not even the quarter watts that you can buy still, for those of you who do play with electronics. They are surface mounted pieces that you'll find inside a PC or a laptop. That I know there are plenty of techie people that can change those, but I'm not one of them. Particularly not for $40.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
worth. Then I moved on to a week long thrash with our good friend Jesse, and Jesse is building Jesse is a former Jeeper, and for the moment he is now working in several projects, but he is building I believe it was an 88 or 89 Bronco 2 body with a Ranger front nose. We're not sure who the donor doors came from. It's on a Bronco 2 chassis, but with a Ford F-150 four-wheel drive axle assemblies underneath. So the broken Dana 44 up front and a straight Dana 44 in the rear. Lifted, I can't tell you all the thing. It's a beast with a 5-liter Ford V8, fed and spark generated and controlled by Holley ECU, igniter systems, throttle body, uh, distributor, and then no dash because he converted that over to the Holley glass dash, the 6.888, I think, glass dash. And I've been helping Jesse. I stripped the old harness, got rid of everything out of it that we weren't using. He has no air conditioning, doesn't want it. Has no heater, doesn't want it. Has no radio, doesn't want it. Catching
Wow.
up. And cleaned up all of the extra. Like he does want the washers and the wipers. He didn't have electric windows before, but it does now because the donor doors had motors in them. And so I showed him how to wire that, but we will still do that. And long story short, merged the Holley wiring system and the factory wire system together and got the unit fired. Had to go through some calibration issues and some read the entire instructions before you start issues.
Nice.
Don't shoot. And but it fired, came to life, and makes lots and lots of noise and smoke because right now the turbos are the exhaust pipe, but they are not connected to the intake side, nor do they have a downpipe or muffler yet. Although that may be different now because we finished that up a couple of weeks ago, or a week ago, finished up the effort. But the key was by that weekend, and this would have been the last show weekend that we missed. I had promised Jesse that I'd stay with him until it fired because it was one of those things. He's been on this build for several years.
Yeah.
And, you start to lose confidence, and it was a make or break. He really to hear it run, and he's now bouncing off the walls.
That's good to hear.
It's alive, and don't think I'm the one that did all the magic work. I am not. I merely helped him with the wiring. He did all the hard work. He and his dad. This has been a father-son project to build this Bronco 2 up from the ground, and to take what normally was a little tiny SUV thingy into right on the ragged edge of monster machine. So it's a big project. Then we also have done a few other non-Jeep things, including installing a Starlink satellite system for a friend, helping another friend over 2 days. When you take an 88, again, it was either 88 or 89 Honda Prelude, about as far away from a Jeep as you can get.
Pretty much.
But when you take that year and then you put a 2000 or 2001 engine and transmission in it, needless to say, the technology between the 2 years is a little different, when you throw a decade or two in there.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, he could not get the air conditioner clutch to engage. And Scott, you were there for the second half of that where we were chasing it down. So we actually did an entire wiring chase from the switch in the dash, lead by lead by lead by lead, through thermostat, through full throttle switch, through the trinary pressure switch, through this, through that, through a diode pack. Never actually ran it dead to the end because the wire changed colors from what little documentation we had. And I bring this up because most things out there, if you're going with a Haynes or a Chilton, and even a bunch of the online services that you can get, they are not what I would call a true wiring diagram. They are a single line diagram. And that's really, it's useful if you have nothing else, but they completely ignore half of the wiring system, as do most people. And Scott was there for the second half, and he got to see firsthand what I mean by half of the wiring system. And that is, of course, the ground circuits. They usually just have a little one line coming off a connection in the drawings to a little 3 horizontal bars getting smaller as they go. Kind of looks like a pyramid upside down shape. And that says ground. But what that doesn't tell you is, how do you get there? Are you grounded to the chassis? Are you grounded to the sheet metal, the firewall? Do you go directly to the battery? How are you getting from A to B? And A to B can be to the, let's say in this case, it was to the passenger's front fender, but the passenger's front fender should either be connected to the firewall electrically, not just mechanically that holds it on. And of course, when you rebuild a car, do you put all the bolts back in? A lot of people don't. Mm-hmm. And how about the ground straps that go from one to the other? That's the connection, but that still isn't to the battery. You still have to go, okay, well, how is the firewall connected to the battery, particularly when it's been moved back to the back of the vehicle in the trunk? So we were able to trace down the things with the added twist that the controls on the dash are what's called a switched ground. In other words, they only connect and disconnect the ground, but the original control system that switch drove, which is no longer in the car, switched power to the compressor clutch, because the compressor clutch is a single wire clutch in this model compressor that he has that grounds internally to its own bracket, which is grounded to the motor. And is the motor correctly grounded to the chassis and the battery? I don't, we went through that whole cycle of chasing a switched ground to make it the grounding trigger for a higher amperage relay, which the power from the relay then went back down to the clutch, which is grounded. And needless to say, there were 2 days of bashing metaphorically one's head against the underside of a vehicle.
Oh yeah.
A few favorite words were said, and it was not all Honda's fault, so I can't really fault the Honda. It's the fact that we were taking 2 different generations of vehicles and combining the electrical systems of both and trying to come up with something that functioned, which we did. So
that's the important part.
Time and help there. But that was kind of the way the last 30 days have been. And I know, Scott, yours has been a little insane too.
Yeah.
So sorry we missed the show last time.
No, it happens. Again, on top of all this, some may have or may have not known. I've actually also been in the middle of switching jobs. I'm moving over to a different location, for lack of better terms. Hopefully, it'll give me a chance to have a day off. The last one, again, it was we always look forward, and you take what you learned and move forward, I guess is the best way to say it. Yep. And unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of free time, because that took all of my time. And with the next job, with conversations with new management saying, hey, if I should happen to work, on a Saturday or something, can I have a day off during the week? And they said, absolutely. So that would give myself time to hook up with Kevin and be able to record shows a lot easier rather than just going 6 days a week again. So fingers crossed for you, for me, if you guys don't mind, that should happen. So Kevin and I can continue to bring you guys content face to face and not via a cell phone. But like we talked about, sometimes things just have to happen the way they do. But again, we appreciate all the messages and all the well wishings. Thank you so much. And again, we're hoping everyone had a happy and safe Thanksgiving. A few of you reached out and said, hey, happy Thanksgiving. Especially George and everyone else. Thank you so much for that. We really appreciate you guys reaching out. But other than that, we had a happy, safe one here. I know Kevin did. You went to your old neighbors, didn't you?
Yeah, I went back to the old neighborhood. Had a wonderful private Thanksgiving with just one other couple and their kids, and even our kid was off somewhere else with her. Mm, they're not married yet, but I'm hopeful.
There you go.
He went with that family, with his family, and that's all part of when your kids grow up and start fledging. They have to choose holidays between parents, and
Yeah.
while you share Christmas, as weird as it sounds, you can kind of go in the morning to that family and the evening to that family. You can get away with it. Thanksgiving's a hard holiday to.
Yeah. That's two dinners.
So we went over actually and with our friends Russ and Rhonda and had a wonderful time and watched some football that I don't really understand much of, but it was still interesting to see. Yeah, it was a good. But we do
Good.
have to think that is mandatory in December. Every year we do this, right, Scott?
Oh yeah, and real quickly, also thank you, Brandon, for reaching out. I want to make sure I said both names, both George, Brandon, and Paul, that all reached out and said, Happy Thanksgiving. So I got other names, but yeah, no, this is a mandatory thing that we have to do because sometimes people ask us, hey, what are some great gift ideas? I'm assuming that's where you wanted to go, correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely. So we think, given the fact that we talked about with Bonnie and Kenny and some of the challenges, that while not 100% safety bent, we're going to throw some ideas out for nice Christmas gifts for your favorite Jeeper that'll show them you care, because it kind of helps them maybe live longer.
Yes.
So, for example, the simplest one, how about a small fire extinguisher that can fit in the Jeep? Now, it should be an ABC, so it's, electrical, combustibles, and oil, and, oil fuel type of thing. And be really great if you found one of the small ones. I know Kitty makes one that I run in my Jeep that comes with a wall mount that also has the ability to be zip tied to a roll cage. So you can put it, they can put it on the roll cage just behind the driver's seat is ideal, because you don't want to have to get into a burning vehicle to get the extinguisher. You don't want to have to go back and open the back up. You want to have the extinguisher readily available as you exit the vehicle. So,
Yes.
and it's a relatively inexpensive gift. Along that line, of course, a simple one is, how about one of those first aid kits, not in the clunky boxes, but the ones that are sold for the hunters in the packages that can go into a backpack, but they usually also have straps on them. They could be zip tied or Velcro tied, again, to the roll bar up, somewhere up near the head of the driver or even the passenger or in the back, and a little less accessible. But the idea is you can reach up and grab them right off the roll bar, and they don't take up the rest of the space for those of us driving the ever smaller TJs and YJs, as opposed to the gladiators and LJs who could pack a small hospital in the room of them.
Yes, absolutely.
Maybe how about a small rechargeable flashlight? That wouldn't be a bad thing. And I would suggest make it one of the ones that has the signal flash on it, maybe amber, or just even if it blinks. Because if you're broke down on the trail in the woods and you manage to get somebody to come and get you, let's say you did get rescue, okay, how would they find you in the dark?
Mm-hmm.
If you're the one who's lost, and you can actually sit there and turn one of these flashlights on with the strobe feature, and maybe it's got a mag mount, and you can stick it on your spare tire carrier or even on your hood, or if you've got a metal part on your roof. Mine's fiberglass, so it doesn't work really well with magnets, but you can probe for people to find you. Again, This is for you, but a gift to one of your Jeeper friends.
Mm-hmm. No, the other thing Kevin and I were talking about, like, again, snatch lines along that line. Also, too, if the person trailers their Jeep, take a few minutes and go out and look at the straps that they use to tie the Jeep down with. They can get old and frayed. Sometimes, I don't know this, but can they dry rot? Is all the mechanism rusty? Have they been duct taped back together and held together with zip ties? You're having a 3,500 pound Jeep on a trailer. It's kind of best you want to keep it. You want it to stay put. That's kind of important.
Or as they say, since the Jeep outweighs the trailer in most of the DOT rules, it's not about keeping the vehicle attached down to the trailers to keep the trailer attached to the vehicle.
Yeah.
So, but how about a tire plug kit? That's a small thing that every Jeeper needs.
Mm-hmm.
I know that the tire manufacturers don't like plug kits. You're out in the middle of the boondocks. Those two little tools, the little raspy one that makes the hole bigger, the other one that holds the little rubber and fiber plug, the little tiny tube or bar of rubber cement, and the ability to push it in there, twist it, and pull it back out, and have the tire operational again.
Yeah.
Any good kit should have that. And if your friend doesn't, it's a nice little package to get. Along that line, of course, if you patch it, you got to refill the tire.
Mm-hmm.
So it's expensive, but how about a portable air compressor?
Yep.
Even the will refill a tire. I know that people are all about the big Viairs and those for production with the harnesses to do all 4 tires at once, but I'm talking about a safety item here that even if you can't do anything else, a small one, like I've got a little tiny that fits in a small bag that actually fits under a TJ's seat. So it's another thing that doesn't take up much space,
Mm-hmm.
but when you're on the side of the road or side of the trail, it's not a bad thing to have.
No, not at all. Another thing too, I was thinking of just now when you said the little tool for the raspy and all that, like a Leatherman multi-tool or some form of multi-tool they can carry with them or put in the center console, because again, it has a plier, screwdriver, so on and so forth. While a little small toolkit's nice, but the multi-tool is better than nothing.
Yep. And it also will fit in the glove box, as small as the glove box is.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another one. And I have got 2 of these, and I use the heck out of them. And that is the little portable USB battery bank. Not a starter, although that's fine if you want to, if they need one of that size. But I'm talking about a thing that's just like a thick cell phone size. It has USB ports on the side that you can plug into and use to recharge a phone. If you're out there trying to use your phone to find your way back with Onyx, or if you're somewhere else and you do not have access to a way to charge your phone, your map system could be dead. And these little chargers, like the one that I have, will charge my phone complete to 100% at least 2 times. And I can tell you a certain person who foolishly put a fuse in the wrong slot this past summer in headlights and needed to use his phone, in the middle of nowhere, found that to be very useful. It didn't operate the headlights, but it kept the phone going. So I could stay in contact with the person that I was trying to follow.
Well, on top of that, again, for those of us, who like to keep our vehicles clean, you can get those car washing kits. But on top of the car washing kit, if the person has a soft top, some zipper cleaner and lubricant, okay, some soft top window wipes, anything for like a soft top treatment. If they have a hard top, maybe some hard top touch-up paint, something like a finish enhancer or something like that for the hard top, because again, that kind of helps.
And the other one that I'll throw in there that's kind of along that way is that windshield wipes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the windshield cleaner and wipes in a tub. I have some in my truck and my Jeep as well, both of them. Because sometimes you're on the trail and it's muddy and it's gooey, and suddenly you find yourself ready to go home, more brown than whatever color the factory painted your Jeep, and your windshield washer reservoir is empty.
Yeah.
And a little tub, or here in Florida, you're driving along and it's, oh heavens, it's love bug season.
Mm-hmm.
And wipers take love bugs off. And that little thing is a nice thing to reach under the seat, pull out this little tube, tubular shaped can, pop the top, zip, and scrub the windshield. Hey, I can see to get home.
Yes. Like I said, and you nailed it, especially with love bug season. And I do want to byline here because I kind of just did realize on this subject of keeping vehicles clean, and I totally spaced out and forgot to talk about it. So I want to take a quick little byline. Well, actually, no, we can come back to that. But like T-shirts, like Jeep T-shirts, Hot Wheels, and stuff like that. Any little stocking stuffer or little cheap little doodad to do. And if you really care about the person and you really want to do this, and I can hear everyone's going to groan here in a second, get them a bunch of ducks from Amazon. You know what I mean? That way they can hand out the ducks.
Particularly if they are in the duck mode, a bag of ducks, it can bring a smile to a face, or even one of those smiling groans.
Exactly.
And
no.
If you're really stuck, one of the bag of rags, you can go on Amazon and buy an entire brick of compressed blue rags for very inexpensive, and wrap it up, and it'll be a big gag gift. But I guarantee you, it's one of those gifts that they'll look at you and go, "What are you thinking?" But you'll find them in the garage next to the tool chest. And all else. I'm going to fall to all else. We are talking about Jeepers here.
Mm-hmm.
The one gift every Jeeper I know could use, when all else fails, get them a prepaid gas card.
Yes, absolutely. Right now.
That, and even if you want to really get a giggle, just put a little card in there. Goes, I know you need gas.
Exactly. Yes, swamping tires and shaped like a brick does not do well for your MPGs. So,
folks, for just some Christmas gifts that if you're really stumped, I know everybody shoots personal gifts, but sometimes giving them something in terms of safety, like I said, the first aid kit, and the or the fire extinguisher, but making them so that they're easily accessible. So you get those ones that can be strapped to the roll bar, and connected so that, when they go, well, why this one? You go, because you can reach it. As soon as you get out, you can turn around, pop it off, and fight your fire. You don't have to hunt for it. You don't have to look for it in a box, in a trunk, under a pile of camping gear. Same thing with the first aid kit. You need it. You have to understand, folks, in a safety environment, rational thought is one of the first things that goes.
Yeah.
They teach you in military and emergency response, first responder training, is practice and plan for thoughtless, make it reactionary, not thought.
Yeah.
And I kind of follow that, and I think it's been good. I've seen, I have not personally, but I have seen a Jeep on fire that was salvaged very quickly, because even though the owner was in a panic mode, somebody that was there saw the fire extinguisher through the window where it was on the roll cage, reached through the open window, popped it off, and put out the fire. And the damage was such that I did help. That's why I know the story. And it only took me about 2 or 3 hours to repair the damaged wiring and get the Jeep back on the road. I left the cleanup and the smell clean up to the individual, but the idea was rolling again.
Well, to piggyback on what you just said, a lot of times when we are building our Jeep, again, it's not a joke, but it's a reality. Is that people think of safety third. They will buy the tires and lift kits and the look cools or the functionals, like new axle upgrades or whatever, because that's primary. But a lot of people put safety secondary. And if you know this person who thinks that way, getting them that fire extinguisher or the first aid kit, that's kind of like, they won't do it for themselves, so do it for them. So that way they can have a Jeep when it comes around. Because again, a lot of us don't think about it until we need it, and this is just being the harsh reality. I didn't buy, I have 2 fire extinguishers now, one in the LJ and one in the Gladiator. I did not add those. And I'm not making a joke. It is November 2023. I didn't add those till last year. And how long have we been doing this podcast? How long have I been into Jeeps? Again, you don't think about it till you need it.
That's right. And I know people go, oh, well, how Christmassy is that? All you have to do, and the person goes, oh, a fire extinguisher, how nice. And you look at it and go, well, I think so. I want you home.
Yes.
In one piece.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the medical kit, I realize it's not the either wow, thrilling or lovey-dovey happy, but it really does say you care.
Absolutely. And that's money well spent.
Yeah, it is. So, but if you guys have any other ideas,
Mhm.
suggestions, throw it to us on Facebook. Send us a message. We'll put a listing out, of ideas if you guys send them to us. I realize not everybody can afford a lot, so we tried to cover the spectrum from cheapies. Do they have a tire pressure gauge? That's one we missed. Is you could buy them a nice tire pressure gauge for under $10.
Mhm.
And I guarantee you, most Jeeps need a tire pressure gauge.
Oh, yes. Oh, very much so. But I do want to quickly, but byline talk about, because I did post about it, is I actually got the hood and the cowl painted on the LJ through work in my last few days of the Bandu Boutique. And I'm happy to say it came out nice. Now, I didn't scuff buff. I didn't have them fix every single dent. I mainly did it because some of the rust was starting to come through on the hood a little more. Because even though this hood was in much better physical shape, didn't look like someone did a pile driver or atomic elbow into the hood like the last one. It had its own little quirks. And Kevin is a big proponent about, rust is a cancer, take care of it. So that's why if you look in the pictures, it got sanded down to bare metal, because we had the Pour 15 ready to go. We were going to treat all the rust, but luckily it was just surface. It all came out. So we sealed the hood and we did everything. So even though I wanted to repaint the entire Jeep, the Sarge green of the newer Jeep color, I kind of shelved that for right now, because the most important part to me was getting all that rust fixed, because the cowl, the guy had dropped the high lift jack a few times, and I wanted to make sure that got taken care of. But again, I just wanted to paint it, and it looks nice and shiny and everything. So now my front end's four different colors, but at least they look good. They're very close match enough to where it's it's about 10 feet or more. You can't really tell, and even then when you get close to it, you still can't tell. Just the old paint, of course, needs to be buffed out a little more. But these are kind of things where everyone thinks you got to repaint the whole Jeep or whatever. If your intention is just to salvage a metal, because again, TJ parts are getting harder to find and they're getting expensive. Even without my employee discounts, it was under $600 to repaint that hood and cowl with base coat, clear coat paint that again, for the most part matches, and we didn't even bother blending anything. So for under $600, I was able to make sure I seal and protect that hood, for future, if you will, so that's just something to think about, because, one of the things Kevin and I talk about are rust, and how it's a cancer. You got to get rid of it, as best you can on these Jeep parts. So again, there's just that little bit of stuff I did. So if you check it out on the Facebook page, and you can see the difference, the steps that went through, and the final end project. Plus, I get to put my Rubicon stickers back on the hood. Let's be honest, that's the real reason why I did it. But but the point is, though, is again, it's I'm gonna go ahead and I bought a cheap $60 buffer from Harbor Freight. And with the different levels of buffing pads, and I've already had the Meguiar's swirl remover and the show glaze and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to document me buffing out the rest of the paint. I got the eraser wheel to get rid of the rest of the adhesive off from the old emblems, and so I'm going to document how finally, hopefully, when I'm done, everything will be nice and shiny, and be ready for the next. I'm hoping I can get at least another couple more years out of this paint before I truly decide what I'm going to do. So.
Sure you can. And the thing is you color matched it by code. The hood, of course, is new aged, but the Jeep has so many curves and lines on it that really, I think the biggest difference when I saw it, when you brought it over here, was the fact that the hood is a new clear coat and smooth, and the fenders, the doors, not so much.
Yeah, they need some loving.
On that, we'll probably get them even closer. And then, as I say, then we'll just about find a mud hole and everything will match.
No more mud. I'm still getting it in my eyes when I clean now.
Well,
Well,
hey, folks. Well, again, any ideas you have on Jeep Christmas presents? Email it to us. That would be fantastic. Otherwise, we'll get you one more round at the 15th before the big man in the sleigh along, which, by the way, Scott, is the same color as your Jeep.
yes, exactly.
And so we look forward to hearing from everybody, and hope you stay safe. Hope you stay alive, obviously, from that point of view. And again, we look forward to hearing from you. Anything else on your end?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. As we always close the show with, I think it's time we lock the hub, put the Jeep in 4 low, and hit the trail. And remember to take nothing but pictures, memories, and your trash when you leave said trail.
Yeah, we want to keep those trails open in perpetuity. We'll just keep it simple.
Absolutely.
All right. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Proceeding has been provided for entertainment only. Proper service and repair procedures are vital to the safe, reliable operation of all motor vehicles, as well as personal safety of those performing those repairs. Standard safety procedures and precaution, including the use of safety goggles and proper tools and equipment, should be followed at all times to eliminate the possibility of personal injury or improper service which could damage the vehicle or compromise its safety.
What he said. Thanks a lot for listening, guys. You guys have a great day.
Bye.
This has been a Bent Axle Media production.